What is up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Fantasy Fellow Show. Real quick, we're just going to go over the NFL Combine top 40-yard dash times. The Combine was the last couple of days here in Indianapolis. And basically, we're just going to go through each position. I'll start with the quarterbacks, the running backs, receivers, tight ends, and then we'll look at the other positions that are non-fantasy football. But we'll kind of just give you guys the top notable 40 times and also some of the ones that were not the top notable 40 times. But we're going to start with the quarterback position here. And all of this can be found, just on NFL.com. I'll probably put a link in the description if you guys want to check it out. But I'm just filtering by 40-yard dash quarterback. Not every quarterback ran yesterday. Kadon Slovis, BYU, 4.55. That's pretty good speed for a QB. Sam Hartman, 4.8. That's about the average speed of like a pocket passing QB. Austin Reed, 4.82. And Spencer Rattler, the slowest, 4.95. So a little bit of concern there. But overall, the quarterback speeds, nothing too crazy. We only really care about that if Caleb Williams and Jade Daniels and the top guys were running. So we'll kind of just forget about that. But let's go look at the running backs. Running back is a very interesting class this year. There's no elite stud running backs, but there's just a lot of talented players that can all kind of do one thing or two things really, really well. The number one running back, Isaac Guerendo out of Louisville, 4.33 speed, fastest guy by a good, half of a tenth here. So Guerendo is a guy that's probably more of a day three pick, so anywhere around 4, 5, 6, 7. But this speed might have enticed people to move him up a little bit. The guy that I really like here is Jalen Wright out of Tennessee, 4.38 speed. Man, he's big, he's fast, he's strong. He's a guy that can be a versatile two-way player, whether he's catching the ball or running the ball. So I like Jalen Wright quite a bit, and really impressive time, 4.38 for Jalen Wright. Another impressive time here is Trey Benson, 4.39. He's kind of the consensus RB1 or RB2 in the class here. And with locking in a 4.39, that's going to put him probably at the end of the second round. I think Jalen Wright's probably a day two running back as well, whether he's a late second, early third pick. So both those guys boosting their stock here, kind of locking them in as some of the top backs in the class. Keelan Robinson, another Texas back here, 4.42 speed. I don't know too much about him, so I'm going to have to do some more research on him. Jaden Sheridan, probably a day three back, 4.45 speed. Kamani Vidal out of Troy, small school, but very productive player at Troy, 4.46 speed. Day three player. Marshawn Lloyd, he's a big back, 4.6 or 4.46 speed is a really impressive number for his size. He's going to be a day two back, I think, whether it's a early third round pick, something like that. Tyrone Tracy Jr. out of Purdue, 4.48. Michael Wiley, more of a receiving specialist, 4.51 out of Arizona. Ray Davis, he's short, but he's really stocky, strong, 4.52 speed out of Kentucky. George Holani, 4.52. Blake Corum, he's not going to be a guy that tests really well at the combine. He's a short player. But he's stocky and he's well built. You guys know Blake Corum, and he's also about a year removed from a ACL injury. So 4.53 speed here. Dylan Lobby, the New Hampshire receiving back, 4.54. Kind of concerned on Bucky Irving's time. I thought he'd run a lot faster, 4.55. Let me see if any other notables here for us. Audric Estime ran the slowest time. He is a bigger back, 4.71. I just didn't think he would run a 4.7. So there's your running back. So let's move on to the wide receivers. And we set a combine record yesterday with Xavier Worthy running a 4.21. The previous record was held, I think it was shared between two people at 4.22. Initially, he was clocked at 4.22, and then they ran the official time here at 4.21. So congrats to Worthy, fastest player at the combine. Now, Xavier Worthy, speed is it's always fun. I like looking at the 40 everything. Now he is 5'11", 165. He's very small. He's one of the smallest probably weighed in receivers in the combine for this year for sure, but maybe in a lot of years. So fastest player, one of the smallest receivers in the draft, though. I don't know if he's going to sneak into the end of the first round, but I think he's kind of locked into the second round now with that 4.21 speed. Now the guy, so like as impressive as it is to run a 4.21, like Brian Thomas Jr. coming in at the second fastest speed. He's a 4.33 40 time here, but let's look at his numbers because this might be even more impressive to me than 4.21. Dude is 6'3", 209 pounds. So he weighs about 40 more pounds than Xavier Worthy, and also has about 4 inches of height, and he's running just about a click less than Xavier Worthy. So amazing speed for Brian Thomas Jr. out of LSU. Amazing speed out of the other Texas receiver here too, Adonai Mitchell, who I put on the thumbnail here. Let's look at his height and weights. Let's just pull it up here. I got to mute that volume when it comes. But Adonai Mitchell, 6'2", 205, very similar to Brian Thomas Jr., just a little bit smaller with the weight and the height. But overall, these two speeds stick out to me as huge wins. So Brian Thomas Jr. and Adonai Mitchell, probably both late first round picks at this point. Buffalo looking for a wide receiver. That's going to be a hot spot, but we'll see where they go. Devontae Walker, 4.36. Jacob Cowing, slot receiver, 4.38. A good time here for Roman Wilson, 4.39. Yesterday they were comping Roman Wilson to Jaden Reed. So think about Jaden Reed a little bit when you think of Roman Wilson. Ladd McConkey, the Georgia wide receiver here, a great slot zone receiver, 4.39. He's going to get open a lot. Anthony Gold, Oregon State, 4.39. Xavier Legette, this was an impressive speed for him as well, considering his size, 4.39 40. And if we look at his size here, he is 6'1", 221. There's going to be a lot of comparisons to either AJ Brown or DK Metcalf with Xavier Legette. He's a fifth-year breakout super senior, but good speed there time for him. I thought Troy Franklin would run faster, 4.41. And for him, he's a 176-pound player. I think he's maybe 6 feet tall, something like that. But I thought he would run a little bit faster. So he actually might have fallen out of the first round with that 40 time. I like Ricky Pearsall, 4.41. Jaquan Jackson, 4.42. Bub Means, 4.43. Lediatric Griffin, 4.43. And then I'm just going to shout out a couple other ones. It was nice to see Rome Odunze run 4.45. That's just a strong number for a receiver. You want something in the 4.4s. Other receivers here to note, I like Malik Washington at 4.47, really good slot receiver. Brendan Rice, Jerry Rice's son, 4.5. Johnny Wilson, 6'7". This dude's massive. So 4.52, that's a good speed, and you beat a lot of the other guys down here. I thought Jalen Polk would run faster. I thought Javon Baker would run faster. And then Keon Coleman didn't really help his draft stock here. 6'4", and he's like 220. But a 4.61 speed on Keon Coleman. A lot of people kind of comp him to either a Mike Evans type. But those are your top receiver 40 times. Let's look at the tight ends real quick here. And not amazing speeds for the tight ends here. I don't think Brock Bowers ran. He's the consensus tight end 1. But Devin Culp out of Washington, 4.47. Theo Johnson. They were comping Theo Johnson to Jimmy Graham. His height, weight, and his speeds are basically the same as Jimmy Graham when he was coming out. So think of Jimmy Graham a little bit when you think of Theo Johnson. Tanner McLaughlin, 4.61. Jaheim Bell, 4.61. I'm looking for Jatavian Sanders. He's kind of the consensus tight end too, but he was one of the slower tight ends. 4.69. Cade Stover's kind of tight end 3 in the class, 4.65. Ben Sinnott, 4.68. I think he's a sleeper. Dallin Holker was probably the most productive tight end last year, 4.78, though a little bit slower, but nothing too crazy for the tight ends. It's not a great tight end class, but let's just kind of note the top 5 speeds at offensive linemen. Looks like there's not there. Defensive ends. All right, we'll go to defensive ends. Dallas Turner. And these are considered edge rushers here. So Dallas Turner was the fastest, 4.46. Chop Robinson out of Penn State, 4.48. Mohamed Kamara, 4.57. Jared Verse out of Florida State, 4.58. And Chris Broswell out of Alabama, 4.6. Any other notable first rounds? Latu out of UCLA, 4.64. Pretty good time there. Looking for any other names. Braylon Trice is like a fringe first, second rounder, 4.72. So those are your top edge rushers for 40 times. Let's look at the defensive tackles. Braden Fisk. And that's a scary time. 4.78 coming in there. Defensive tackle out of Florida State. Makai Wingo out of LSU, 4.85. Byron Murphy, who's a first round pick, 4.87. Rook Orororo, 4.89 out of Clemson, and then Chris Jenkins, who is, I think he's like the nephew of former NFL player Cullen Jenkins, I believe, 4.91. Some big dudes here moving pretty fast. Let's look at the linebacker speeds here. Peyton Wilson, the consensus LB1, NC State, 4.43 speed. Kalen DeLoach, 4.47. Edgerrin Cooper's kind of a second round linebacker here, kind of the second or third LB off the board, 4.51. Trevin Wallace, 4.51. Jordan McGee out of Temple, 4.55. And where's the Clemson Where's the Clemson one? I don't think he ran. Yeah, he did not run. But those are your top linebacker speeds. Cornerbacks. Let's look at these guys here. Nate Wiggins. He actually hurt his. I thought it was his groin. They're saying a hip, but a 4.28 out of Nate Wiggins is really good. He's a little bit small, but he makes up for that in speed. Quinion Mitchell out of Toledo kind of locked himself into the first round with a 4.33. DeCameron Richardson out of Mississippi State, 4.34. Nehemiah Pritchett, 4.36. And Jarian Jones, who's kind of like a third round cornerback talent, 4.38. Any other notable cornerback times? I like DJ James quite a bit out of Auburn, 4.42, third rounder. Let me see what else we got here. Mike Sainristil out of Michigan, 4.47. I like that. Renardo Green, another Florida State guy, 4.49. Terran Arnold, 4.5. That's fine. Cam Hart out of Notre Dame, 4.5. Ennis Rakestraw did not run a great time, 4.51. Let me see if there's anybody or other notables. Kalen King out of Penn State, 4.61. So those are your top cornerback times. And then let's look at safety and we'll finish this video here. Dadrian Taylor Demerson, a 4.41. Millard Bradford out of TCU, 4.42. Jalen Simpsons from Auburn, 4.45. Cole Bishop out of Utah, 4.45. Tyke Smith out of Georgia. I think he's kind of a third, fourth round safety, maybe 4.46. A lot of the notable guys didn't run great times. Kalen Bullock's kind of a third rounder, 4.48. Oladapo, one of the back end safeties, 4.58. Let's see here. Yeah, the top safeties didn't really run, but Cam Kitchens, 4.65. We didn't get to see Tyler Nubin run at all, but there's your go there. Those are your top 40 times. So again, I'll put the link in the comment section. You guys can check out all the splits, verticals, broads, three cones, and whatnot. But there you have it. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Thanks for hanging out and watching this video with me. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe if you guys are new, and we'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.